That should cover. I'll try and jump on in a bit. Got some family stuff. Okay. All right. I'm in all the pictures now. And welcome everybody. And I'm going to check YouTube now to make sure my sound's working properly this time. I went away from the sharing screen because I just didn't like that echo that happened last time. And it really kind of wrecked. Now we got CT coming on. There we go. Hey CT. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Okay. All right. We're live on YouTube and Facebook. We're already shared, so we're getting ready to go. We're just waiting for Nash to join us. Let me see if I can pull out. I'll drop this participant thing out and pull this out bigger. Dropping you there. Putting you in the screen. There we go. I'm just checking YouTube right now to make sure the YouTube feed has got sound. All right, here we go. We're live. It shows that we're live, and I just need to know that I have sound right now to make sure the YouTube feed has got sound. All right, we got Tater Dom on. Hey, Tater. And then we are going to welcome to tonight's bashing of Michter's tenure. So how's it going with you?
Too bad.
Not too bad. All right. I got that going for YouTube. So I will do that into the YouTube drop. I'll make sure that this is, I'll give Nash a couple seconds and then we'll just get this going. All right. I know that you're on a limited time. There's so much out there now, you know?
It's almost infinite.
I know. I was just thinking about how much I spent on Booker's this year alone. It's $100 a bottle or a little bit more depending on where you're getting it. And when you think about it, it's crazy because they got 4 batches, that's 400. Then they put out the $229 $229 reserve, Booker's Reserve. So now you're at, that's 600, that's almost, you're probably close to $700 with tax, That's not cheap.
Booker's Reserve, wasn't it $129?
No.
Yeah, that's what I paid for it.
Was it?
Yeah. Blind Pig, it was $129.
Okay. Well then, yeah, because I picked, I just picked. Where did I pick up Booker's Reserve? I think I picked it up at the festival. They were selling it at the festival, so that's where I was able to pick it up.
Then you got Little Book.
Well, the Little Book Infinite was 220. I think it was 229 at the festival and 200. It was MSRP 200 in Ohio, I believe. You know what I mean? You just pay a little bit more at the festival. So, anyways, all right. All right. So we could get this going. I'll just get the podcast going, and if Nash jumps in, he jumps in. Otherwise, he'll have to just, not jump in. We got Jamie and John watching tonight. I haven't seen Walker yet, so we'll see. But I'm monitoring the YouTube. If you can monitor, I see you're monitoring the Facebook, and I will get this party started. We'll just start recording and be on our way. All right. Welcome back to another podcast of the Scotchy Bourbon Boys. We're just rolling them out. We're headed into the winter months, getting into the holidays, and great to have everybody that's on and listening. We are live on Facebook and YouTube, and we got the most awesome CT here tonight. Welcome, CT.
What's happening, everybody? Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. It's kind of cool. I see you got the Michter. Now, is that the Michter's 10 from last year that you got there, right now on your bottle? Or did you pick up this year's Michter's 10?
That's last year's. I'm going to do a side by side.
You're going to do a side by side. Okay. I can't do a side by side because I traded my last year's for a Joseph Magnus, the cigar blend, the one. I was able to get at least about a half a bottle. Actually, I don't have last year's, but I have this year's. And you have samples off this year. So when we do the barrel bash, we can do it off the same one. But mine is signed by Andrea and Dan McKee from the festival, which is really cool. And the stuff you're drinking was the signed bottle. But I felt that I had the signed bottle. I know that I believe last year Michter's 10 year won our bourbon of the year. This year, I don't know what's going to happen. I know it's probably going to be in the running, but it's kind of cool overall that it's back. And, to be able to drink this with Dan and Andrea, and do things with them. Dan really wants us to get down there, CT, and probably sometime in January or February, we're going to have to go down to Michter's and do a podcast with Dan down there and all the stuff that they've been doing, because actually Michter's has been absolutely killing it. But we're the Scotchy Bourbon Boys, www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys, t-shirts, and Glencairns. Like I said, me and Roxy tonight, we're going over which pecans that have been soaked for 10 months that we were going to use to make this year's holiday batch of bourbon balls. Contact us for that. Remember, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and X. We are on all those formats, and we're live on YouTube and Facebook. And then remember, we're also on all the major podcast formats, Apple, Spotify, and iHeart mainly. Check us out there, but anywhere else you listen. And remember, like, listen, subscribe, comment, and leave good feedback. Very important to us. And, we could just get right into it tonight. I know your time's a little limited, but I was hoping that Super Nash, he said he was going to make it, but, we're 10 minutes into this and late, and he's usually early. So I guess it's just me and you going to do the barrel bashing. I will give him, I think this is the first barrel bash that he's missed. But when we do the scores, I'll make sure that he gets the score, because he's been keeping track of all our Old Louisville Whiskey Company sponsored barrel bashings as we go across. And, I think that, when we do it and keep scores, we got to come up with something, at the end of the year, and maybe the best scores put those barrel bashings up against each other, something like that. Not at the end of the year, but, maybe in the mid-year, well, that's what we do. We do the barrel bashing, Old Louisville, Whiskey Company's barrel bashing, Final Four. Maybe we do it during the Final Four or something like that.
Drink them all by then.
Yeah, that's true. We could.
That's the problem is, some of these don't last as long as others, and some we don't all have because we have samples from each other because we can't all find everything. So we'll make the best of it. But yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah, for sure. But we've been doing pretty good at sharing. That's what we got to do. When we each get it, we got to get. If I give you 4, you give me 4, that's 8, and so that's 8 packs. And when we're done, we'll just return them back with the other for each other, right?
Denor makes it very nice to do that with these 4-pack flights. Makes it simple. Like we said, we can meet up. I can have 4 of them ready to go for you. You can have 4 ready for me, and we just trade bottles, put them in our little to-go bags, and there you go.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to switch hats. That's what's going to start happening here, because we are headed into our Old Louisville Whiskey Company barrel bashing segment. brought to you by Old Louisville Whiskey Company. Amin down there. You can talk about how awesome it is when we go down there with Amin.
I mean, it doesn't get much better than going down to Old Louisville and being with Amin. And for anybody who hasn't been there, great place. It's right in Louisville, in Old Louisville. And Amin has some great stuff. When you go to his tours, you get to try, I think 6 barrels or 5 or 6 barrels is what he sets up. And along the way, you'll learn about how the distillate in different woods changes the flavors and what time does to it. I think every time we've been down there, we've learned a little more and tasted some incredible stuff, whether it's finished in a different type of French oak, or maybe it's been finished in a maple barrel, or what was the other one? Was the cognac? Was that the one that was the kind of cool? And just a great place, good guy, and we love having him on board with us. So.
Well, he's got that 17-year that you sent up a sample. That's gonna be a fun one. Maybe we could bring Amin on when we barrel bash his 17-year. We'll just bring him on for that, so that you got his sponsored barrel bashing segment, barrel bashing his whiskey with him on. So we could do the hat trick right there with that one. So, anyways, our barrel bashing score rating is based off of 4 categories. It's based off of nose, body, taste, and finish. The nose and the body can get up to a score of 4 barrel bashes. The taste and the finishes can get up to a 5. And if one category is exceptional, you can add a but up to it, so that it can be in one category. You can add an extra. So the total of a perfect bourbon in the barrel bashing is 19 out of 18. It just is that you have an exceptional category and you score the 5s and the 4s. So I'm ready to get going tonight. We are doing the Michter's 10-year single barrel bourbon that they put out. They put this out once a year in a batch. This one you can just see on my screen, and the people, you can see this. This one has been, when I picked this up at Kentucky Bourbon Festival, and Andrea and Dan were so kind to autograph it. I mean, this isn't just your normal autograph. I mean, we've got, like paragraphs written on it because knowing Dan and Andrea and Joe, when we go down there, they treated us. I mean, that was one of the coolest podcasts and treatments that we got. Wouldn't you say, CT?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. So
this year we with Michter's, you had the 10-year bourbon, which is what we're drinking. They also came back out with their 10-year rye. And then this year they also are adding to it, the 20-year bourbon is back. So a lot of stuff, like you said, a lot of stuff going on in Michter's. But this 10-year, last year, like you said, one of our favorite bottles, and I do think it won our top bottle of the year, but my God, it was so good. And you can tell already the nose, this thing is going to live up to the hype. So.
Oh yeah, that's definitely, in my opinion. And so one of the nice things is this has been, I've had this open on my bar since I opened that up pretty quick to pour your sample. I opened it up pretty quickly, so it's been open for at least a month, and it's been in your sample, so it's had time to air out and breathe. And I always find that really good bourbon like Michter's or Booker's, the longer they're in the bottle, if they get a couple months in that bottle, it just the flavors just explode. You get that. And so we're doing that tonight, where it's not a fresh crack, which a lot of times the fresh cracks, that's a what would you say, a double-edged sword. Sometimes they're really good, and other times, they gotta open up. Yeah, I'm just getting, on that nose, I get some cherry, I'm getting brown sugar, I'm getting a lot of cherry. It's like
sweet oak.
yeah, I get some oak. I'm almost getting a cherry cola.
A little bit, yeah.
And it's really sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, it just reminds you this I think we said it last year when we smelled and drank this last year's edition. It reminds you of some of the bourbons of older, that nose is comparable to what they had.
Well, and just to get into a little bit about Michter's, Michter's is not so it's very unique because they aren't uh, a lot of places like Bardstown Bourbon Company or Jim Beam, they're very transparent. But Buffalo Trace and Michter's are not a transparent. They give you the generalities of what's in it. They tell you it's bourbon, so you know it's at least 50, but they're not going to give you their mash bills. There is a lot of, what would you say, same thing on Buffalo Trace. There's a lot of people out there that tell you what the mash bill is, but there's never a verification and you're not going to get it from them. What they believe is that the mash bill to them is important, the yeast they use, how they age, that's all important to them when they're making this. And they got that giant pot still there. I mean, fashioned after the original pot still, but it's like 50 times bigger. But what Michter's does is they believe that what's in the bottle and the taste is what matters the most, and that's what they're giving you. And that there's a lot of people who are always saying transparency, 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 but I really kind of find that Michter's and Buffalo Trace to me are like a resort island. You know what I mean? Where you get so much information off of all the other, you're getting it off all the other bourbons. I mean, what you get off of a Bardstown Bourbon Company, the 15 different rick houses, all the different blends and everything. And you got the, now, you got the, um, what do I want to say? The years, all the different years, and you got the mash bills and all the different mash bills and what they're doing. Where here with Michter's, they're telling you it's a Kentucky straight bourbon. They don't give you age. There's not, well, it's a 10-year age statement. So you know that you're getting a mature bourbon, but you don't get everything else. And it's kind of nice not to have to worry about everything else. I just kind of, when I drink it, I'm just looking at it from a taste standpoint.
I don't know. I mean, I think for me, I don't pay attention to a lot of the labels in general. I don't look at age statements for the most part. I think anytime I'm trying something, I'm going to give it a try, no matter what it is, and give it a shot and see if it hits my palate right, whether it's 4 years old, 8 years old, or 12 years old. But Michter's, it's probably a brand that people don't even have the small batch, the blue label, even on their bar, and it's probably one of the better $45 bottles, in my opinion, out there because it's just so drinkable and it has a unique flavor. But Michter's as a whole, the brand is just fantastic tasting. I like it
Yeah,
as much.
this 10-year is a 94.4, and um it drinks with body. I mean, for a 94.4,
It doesn't have a kick. It doesn't have that burn that maybe some of the higher proofs do. But again, even as much as we drink and we get all the varieties like that, I like this a lot because it's just so drinkable and it doesn't need to burn for it to be good.
I agree. So, all right, so let's start the barrel bashing process. I think lately people have been hearing the barrel bashing.
I haven't, but that's okay.
Well, hopefully this time you do, because I have different types of microphones going on. You never know. You want to do the nose first?
Yeah, I'll start the nose and yeah, I mean, for me, the one note that I get, and right or wrong, it's like it's what I call it. I like that dusty note that I get initially. There's few bourbons that I smell that say, wow, it kind of has that dusty note to it. And this one always does. It's just every time. I like the cherry. It has all the right stuff. For me, this is a put up. The nose absolutely kills it for me.
So you're doing a 4 with a Badup.
Yep.
Here we go. Badup. Yes.
And I didn't hear a single one of those that you did.
There we go. All right. So a 4 with a Badup. Now I give you. So the only other bourbon that is, this is a 10-year, but this drinks like you said, and it smells like a dusty. And there's an aspect of dusties that are consistent. There's that that aroma or that flavor that's consistent throughout all dusties. But the only other one that I got the dusty note and flavor on ever besides this is was it the Old Fitzgerald 12, 20? Yeah, the 13-year that's really 20-year or 25-year or whatever. It was 12 years stuck in and then set for another 13 years or whatever. So
1850 or something like that.
Right. So that one, I definitely picked up the dusty note on it. Now, it was so dusty of a note. It was unique to when we tried it and drank it, but it wasn't worth to me the price tag that was on it to be able to acquire it. It was great that I loved it from a taste standpoint, but I didn't purchase it. Now, this on this hand, I would purchase this bottle over and over and over again. I mean, it's just that good. So on the nose, I get the cherry. I get that. It's just, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You could see me hitting it, right?
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So now the body. So I always find that a lower proof, and you're doing some good spin in there. It does well. This one is doing really well in the Glen. You know what I mean? It sticks, and when it drops, starts out with thin at the top, but then just turns instantly thick, and it's dropping back down into this. It's more like almost like it's like, I would say this is as far as color, it's got a little mahogany, a little bit more red in there. You know what I mean? As far as, it's not a golden ale or whatever. It's got a nice color to it. And
the way the legs go, it's almost like a syrup or oil that's coming
Yeah.
down the side. It stays intact all the way, and man, it's got a bunch of them.
So the flavor, like you said, it's very, very, if someone likes an easy bourbon, you got to go out and get this. This is easier than almost anything that you can drink. I mean, it's funny because the delay of the hug doesn't happen, and you don't feel that the warmth go down until it's right down near the bottom of where and then it just radiates slowly back up through your chest. But going down, it's really not there. But then you just feel it kind of come back up and warm up your chest. So it's really, in my opinion, it's the definition of a perfect hug. But from the standpoint of body, I would say again, I would say on this one, out of everything that this is, the body's probably at 90.4. It's a 3 to me because the flavor's so good and the taste is wonderful and it goes throughout your mouth, but it just doesn't quite get to the cheeks like a full body. When you feel that, you feel it, you can taste it on and feel that little bit in your cheeks. So I give the body a 3.
Well, to make things easy, you touched on everything there. I definitely think a 3 for me as well.
All right, let's go taste, my friend. Wow. It's definitely different from last year.
I'm gonna side by side in a second. For me, flavor, the taste, the sweet oak, and for what's kind of odd is the vanilla of it comes out strong for me on the palate. The first drink I drank, I almost got all vanilla. That time, more of that sweet oak is coming in, but man, tons of vanilla, a little bit of cherry. I think the cherry kind of is how it finishes, if that makes sense.
It does. And it
But
picks up some leather and oak on that finish. And then stays, the vanilla then eventually comes back. But like you said, the vanilla, if you drink this and you start off on the tip of your tongue, all there is vanilla. And then as it goes back, you do, like, I agree. So what are you going to give it as a taste?
so I like it, but and not doing a side by side yet. I don't think I like it as much as last year's, but I like it a lot, and that's hard to to give it to give it any discredit because it's freaking delicious. But I'm gonna go, and this is a 4, right? Is our
A
max on this
5.
one? 5 on this one.
5 on taste and 5 on.
I would, if it's out of 5, I would go 4 on this one.
All right. It's so bizarre, like you said. It's 10 years old. It doesn't drink like a 10-year-old. There's no doubt. There's not a lot of flavors. And the vanilla, but what I remember about last year's is there was that explosion. And this basically picks up a little bit of oak and a little at the explosion point where I think last year picked up some caramel and whatever. This picks up more of a oak leather feel. So if you're a fan of Bourbon Man's bourbon, like your dad's bourbon, this is nailing the living crap out of it. But to take it to another level where it's not or just a really good bourbon, it doesn't have that extra explosion of flavor that I remember from last year. So I would have to concur with you on this. It's a 4. Now, the finish. It's a long finish. It sticks around. It does multiple different things. But again, I think the pronunciation of the sharpness doesn't stick around. You know what I mean? There's an aspect, all I can say is here's how I would describe it. The vanilla makes it a little bit vanilla. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? It makes it more like a vanilla. Like if you were describing the finish, you would say it was there's vanilla in it, and I can taste it. There was I think it was Captain Crunch vanilla crunch. There used to be a whale, and it was vanilla, and it had that flavor. That flavor's there at the start, and then it just kind of there's some leather, there's some other stuff, wood, and then it goes back to vanilla. But when it comes back to vanilla, it's there, but it's not like it's prominent. It's just vanilla. So I'm gonna give it also a 4 on the finish.
I think this finish. I like how it changes, though. I will say that that last sip started out a little more of that sweet oak, more of the tobacco. I wouldn't say tobacco. But there was a note in there that kind of followed at the beginning, and then it quickly, for me, transitioned back to the vanilla.
Yep.
And
I call it leather. It's like a leathery oak.
it probably is a better. Yeah, it wasn't tobacco. It was leather.
Yeah, it didn't have the sour.
But what I like about this is you get a little bit of complexity. It changes, which I'm always a fan of. But man, even for a lower proof, the flavor stays. It does not leave your mouth. Like, yeah,
Still there. I mean, but it's there in my opinion, vanilla-y. You know what I mean? It's just not the flavor's there on the finish, but for me on a 5 flavor, I want something pronounced and it's still kind of push like it's got a little bit of a sting to it, but this kind of is just softly there.
this is kind of like eating some kind of vanilla baked good, whether it's a donut, whatever it is. After you've ate it, it still leaves that sweet vanilla flavor in your mouth. That's
You mean vanilla crunch?
or even like sheesh, I don't know, oatmeal cream pie with the cream taste that stays in your. It's just that flavor, that sweetness is what stays for me. I do like that. I can't say it's a 5. I definitely think a 4 is about as high as I can go on it.
Yeah, John Ritt made a couple nods. He said 23 is incredible. Spanky's like, hey, saying hi. He's got 2 bottles of that and has not opened it yet. I think Walker's just jumped on, hopefully. John Ritt says cherry vanilla cupcake.
The description right there.
Yeah. So what were you going to give it?
A 4.
A 4. So I think out of 18, I basically gave it a 4, a 3, a 7, and I gave it a 5. 4 and 4, 8 and 7. Yeah, I gave it a 15 out of 18. And I think you gave it a 16 out of 18 because you gave the nose a but up, which was a 5, and then you agreed with the 3 and the 2 4s. So we are at 16, and you're at 16, I'm at 15. So we give this Michter's 10-year a 15 and a half. So I mean, I kind of agree. I mean, when you give a score out of 18, you give it a 15 and a half. This is in play. But like I said, if you want to, I don't have it, but feel free. Why don't you do a comparison between the 2 from this year and last year real quick to put us down, get us closer down the line. And I'm going to take us out of the old Louisville barrel bash and put us back into the Michters. So look I got so many hats. I decided that I'm going to be doing the hat switch.
There you go.
I might put an X on my head and then to figure out, and if anybody can guess which hat has the X underneath, they can
So last year's 10, I think the note that is there that we really like, and I'm going to guess that it transfers from the nose to the palate because that was something I do remember now that I'm getting it, is toffee.
Toffee?
Toffee?
Yeah, like caramel toffee.
It takes caramel but goes to a different level.
Yeah, I get it. Not coffee, just toffee. That honestly, I agree with you. I remember that was there, and even on the finish of it was that toffee flavor that was, well, like you think about the vanilla on this, and then you think about the toffee on that finish right now, and you think about that sharpness of that toffee that just keeps going on forever. I mean, it just didn't stop.
Is better with the wood flavor and that dusty kind of note that it gives. The vanilla is a very different contrast, so I think that's why it separates itself like it does. But yeah, I would have to say last year's wins for me pretty easily. even though I'd like to do this in a blind just to see if I could pick it up as easily. But
I don't.
man,
I honestly, in a blind, think you would pick.
usually
The
you can
difference
tell.
between the two that would make me know instantly is the in a blind is the distinct actual. So sometimes, like for instance, our first barrel pick with Dalton, it was very subtle that all the flavors came through subtly, and it would that bottle would change, and sometimes you'd taste butterscotch, sometimes you'd taste apricot, sometimes you'd have some vanilla, sometimes you had all these different things happening. And then the second barrel pick was like it on steroids, and it was just like the flavors were just right there, and that's the difference between the two. You know what I mean? That's the difference between the two from this year and last year. Last year's was on steroids. Like the flavor is there and it was very pronounced and it was really good. It had all the flavors, but it basically was, what would you say, very poignant. Where this year it's subtle. It's like that vanilla. That vanilla is absolutely delicious. You know what I mean? I mean, it's as far as a bourbon, I think what we gave it a 15.5 out of 18. It earns it at every, corner. But
And, and that's the thing is what I do like is that they smell very similar. That dusty note, and that that if somebody puts that down in front of you, you're gonna be like, man, that's a Michter's 10. You can almost tell by that nose. But when you go to drink them, the fact they're different is really nice because they're not the same bottle.
but that's the thing between year to year, they're going to be different. That's the whole thing. I mean, we just did the Little Book Infinite. And the concept, I didn't know. I had no idea the detail until I did this podcast. But you're talking about a 20-year-old um, uh, Kentucky straight bourbon that Booker distilled. You're talking about a 14-year-old that Fred did. Then you got a 7-year-old that Freddie did. He combines them all together. He takes 70% of it and makes it the first thing of Infinite, but he puts back 30% CT, and next year he's going to use that 30% plus whatever he uses, and it's going to be bourbons. So that Infinite series is like an infinity bottle for us. He's mixing together his dad's, his Booker's, and his distillates, their bourbons year after year to make different batches, and I think that's even a better concept than Booker's. And he's what, 38 years old? I mean, and he just started this. Booker started in his 50s, and
Art, he's been doing it since he was born.
who? Freddie? Yeah, but I'm saying his batches now. This concept of this brand is fantastic. I mean the little books always, for me, there's a couple that really hit and a couple that didn't really hit. And that's just because of what the different things he's using. He uses single malts, he uses rye, he uses a bunch of things. But this, he's using aged Kentucky straight bourbon from their what you call it. So it's really kind of cool. I love what Andrea and Dan are doing down there. We got to get down there. And as far as the 20-year, why did you even put that out? I mean, they put it out, but I can't afford it and you can't afford it. You know what? If they send us back to Fort Nelson, when we go up to the bar this time, we'll know.
No, okay. We'll have the 20-year, please.
Yeah, can we have a 1 ounce, 2 1 ounce samples of the 20-year? That's what we'd like to try.
On that note, I gotta go because I'm going to Kentucky tomorrow, so I gotta get off here because I got stuff to do before I leave.
Okay. Yep. And we're headed to. I will be headed Saturday to Lambeau Field. Me and Roxy are meeting Randy and Kate up in Green Bay. Going to stay Saturday and Sunday, go to the Packer game, and then head back home on Monday. So I'm looking forward to a big weekend too. Where are you going?
Just around, just gonna go some places and check some stuff out. So,
Well, if you stop at Whiskey Thief, say hi to Hannah and Walter for me.
Will do. Well, everybody, thanks for having me on and enjoying another old Louisville barrel bash. And Michter's 10 is never disappoints, man. It's always good. So glad to be on, and have a great weekend, everybody.
Yep. Thanks for coming on, CT. I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes, everybody. So uh, once CT jumps off here, we'll talk a little bit. I wanted to get into a little bit more. We were talking about the taxation, the three-tier taxation, and the importance of it, and why. It's so funny because with politics today, politics are everything, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the importance of alcohol and the spirits industry and how it works into right now our government. And with that, I am going to do a pour of. I'm going to have some whiskey thief, and you know what? They just released at Whiskey Thief. They've been putting out their weeded bourbons, and at Whiskey Thief, we know that they have a great staff. Uh, it's a barrel pick all day, every day, and they put out their weeded. And I was there for their Whiskey Fest, so they got the special Whiskey Fest label, which is really kind of cool. It's right there. You can see that, everybody, hopefully. Yep. And what they do is if you pick it, you bottle your own. And I bottled this. You can go on our YouTube and see our shorts of me bottling the Whiskey Thief. It's funny because I haven't put a lot of those up, but I bottled this bottle. And it was the weeded, and their weeded mash bill is fantastic, but it's uncut and unfiltered, just like the Scotchy Bourbon boys. And it is barrel strength, and it was fantastic. But now that it's been in the bottle and it's been home, I really want to taste this. Super Nash, hopefully he gets so I did have Toasted and Bourbon Festival, and it was good, but I still preferred the single barrel. Um, what are we talking about? Oh, the barrel strength. Oh, yeah, I've had a lot of different. I actually like Michter's rye. I got the 10-year rye. Can pull that over here too. Let's just pull over the 10-year rye. Everybody, here it comes. This was a present last year when me, Randy, and Kate went to the Packer game. This year it's going to be me, Randy, Kate, and Roxy. So very excited about that. So we've got this barrel strength. This is the single barrel 10-year Kentucky straight rye. That to me is one of the best ryes I've ever had. And this one again, I believe it's 94.4 also. Or is it just 90 proof? Let's put on the glasses. Okay, so 92.8 off that rye last year. That rye one, people went crazy for that 10-year rye, Walker. But this has been in here, but this is a cherry bomb. I mean, it's my first weeded that I've ever had a cherry bomb. It just smells like cherries. So good. It does not, I mean, the proof on it. So let's see. And chocolate cherries. It finishes like chocolate cherry. Hand Thief single barrel, 6 years, 75 corn, 15 wheat, and 10 barley. And it is it is 47.6. It is a 95.2 proof, which is crazy because it's 6 years and 95.2. So it probably lost some proof going in. I mean, I leave this straight from the barrel. It's so delicious. I mean, so this is a 95 and the 10-year. And we'll switch over now to my Whiskey Thief hat. We'll put that on for a while. Get the glasses off. The 10-year, I should invite Walter in to talk about it, but the 10-year Michter's at 94 something, and this is 96. This drinks the body on this weeded. It's got to be the uncut, unfiltered, but the cherry aspect, and then it goes to chocolate. It's so delicious. I mean, how a wheat, I've never had a wheat taste like a chocolate cherry, but this does. And into the bottle, it's doing wonderful. I'm glad that I was able to get that. And, just hanging out with you guys tonight has been fantastic. What do we got going? Did we ever get going? Hey, Randy Ford is on YouTube. Good to see you there. We've got so much bourbon right now. I mean, it's crazy. And then there's so much more. The state of Ohio, believe it or not, folks, is first they did their single barrel Saturday, which I pulled in a Weller Full Proof and my Thanksgiving Day bottle right here, which is Jimmy Russell's Wild Turkey Kentucky Straight 70-year anniversary release. There you go. I mean, damn. Hey Matt, it's great. But that's gonna be my. I usually do an 11 o'clock Thursday Thanksgiving podcast on Wild Turkey. We do that, and yes, the 20-year Mitchers is really good. Do you have a bottle, Randy? Because I've never actually been able to. And we got somebody on from Brazil watching. Philippe, good to see you there. I've never actually gotten to taste the 20-year Michter's yet. I could have, but I did not want to take advantage, and I'm dumb because I really don't think Joe would think we were taking advantage if we would have tasted the 20-year when we were there, because that's what he makes it for. So, anyways, that cherry is a cherry bomb. So we got that coming up for Thanksgiving. We're not going to miss a beat. I'm headed to the Packer game. The one thing I will tell you is that if the Packers win, I will have a bottle of Stag. I'm bringing a bottle of Stag Junior because every time I've ever brought a bottle of Stag Junior, that's what I drank after the victory, and that seemed to work out for me. Now, here is the Michter's Rye. Tiny's not a huge rye fan. I just had this weeder. Let's switch up and put it in a Whiskey Thief. We'll send this Glenn. Those larceny candles over there are fantastic. So we're going on. Well, if you do, I would be honored to be able to taste some of it because I have not tasted the 20-year and I want to. Maybe the next time when we're down, we can head over to Michter's and see what they got going for us. But again, the smell on so in my opinion, Michter's Rye, they were known. I mean, that was what the brand's always been known for, and for whatever reason, their ryes are just something that I find delicious. It drinks like a bourbon rye. I mean, how many 10-year ryes are out there? There's not a lot of 10-year ryes. The one thing that Michter's has the corner on the market for is easy. I would believe that I will tell this to Dan and Andrea that they make whiskey that everybody who drinks whiskey, they do not make hot. It's not hot. Their barrel strengths aren't hot. They're just full of flavor. The first time a rye beat a bourbon ever on our podcast was a Michter's barrel strength rye. It I'm not a fan of ryes, but I have become a fan of Michter's ryes. So that's where we're at with that. Anyways, it's been great. Everybody out there, this podcast, we'll get it up and loaded. I'm going to end it, but everybody on Facebook and YouTube, I'll stay on for a couple minutes afterwards, as always, so we can keep having fun. But I am going to, the 25 year is a little better. Randy, you have such a wealth of knowledge of bourbons. It's crazy. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to take us out on the audio podcast. So everybody on Facebook and YouTube, hang around right afterwards. And let's get this going. Remember, www.scotchybourbonboys.com for all things Scotchy Bourbon Boys. Glencairn's t-shirts, they're there. Also, there are bourbon balls. So we are just in the process. We should have them ready to go. But contact me direct on Facebook or YouTube. Just send me a message and I can get you taken care of. We take Venmo. So just remember that. And then also remember, we're on all the major podcast formats: YouTube, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Tonight we're on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. And then we're on all the major podcast formats, but mainly Apple, iHeart, and Spotify. Please check us out. Remember, like, listen, comment, leave good feedback. Don't leave bad feedback. And remember, good bourbon equals good times and good friends. Please drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. And remember to live your life uncut and unfiltered. Little Steve-O will take us out.
Oh, show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. Show me the way to the next whiskey bar. Oh, don't ask why. Oh, don't ask why. For if we don't find the next whiskey bar, I tell you we must die. I tell you we must die. I tell you, I tell you, I tell you we must die.
All right. We are off there. I think I do too much audio, Matt. Just improve. Let's see if I just leave it alone. No cross, improve clarity. No, 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 no. I'll just improve voice quality. All right, let's try that. All right, we got CT and we'll go there and we're going to save, publish to uploading. We go Michter's 10-year. All right, Scotchy Bourbon, save. All right, so one of the things about Michters, I mean, everybody, when you're talking about Michters, everybody always has a hard time pronouncing it. Everybody goes Michters. I mean, it's basically Michters, and it's always been that. But when you're getting in new, it's very hard to pronounce the name or learn the name, learn the proper name. And Tiny, myself, I did have a hard time figuring it out. But it's just like when I think about where Young Nose and me were with, and the time we ever tried Michter's and where we've come, it just blows my mind. It's kind of like Dan McKee and Andrea Wilson, and I don't ship. I know Joe's last name, but I'm not going to try and say it at this point after the amount of whiskey with no food I've had. Meg, yeah, I know it, but I'm not going to say it because I'm just going to screw it up. But what they, our relationship with them, we've had Andrea and Dan on the podcast at Kentucky Bourbon Festival drinking some of the original Michters in a carafe that Super Nash got, and we drank that with them, and they got to taste it. And these are the people who make it now. So you've given them in their taste palates uh, another weapon of understanding what Michter's tasted like when it was being made in Pennsylvania. So it's really a cool relationship with Dan and Andrea, and to know the people who make it. It just is why the industry is so awesome. That's why I love doing all this. Plus, you've got Felipe from Brazil listening. We talk about whiskeys, American whiskeys. We're starting to expand. We've done Irish and Japanese. We got to do some more Japanese. We've done Indian whiskeys in John Paul, but that actually is Buffalo Trace. Didn't know that, but but we do craft distilleries and everything, and we just have that is done. I can now pop this down. Let's see. Can I put that like that? All right. So I think, yeah, this is actually the fuzzy microphone right here, which I'm sure I can hit down because that is the podcast. This isn't has nothing to do um with the audio of YouTube and Facebook. Johnny and Jacqueline are two. Yes, Jacqueline, she took care of us up at the bar when she sent us over. When Joe was like said to Dan, make sure that she takes care of. So when we got there, and it's funny because I will thank you, Randy, for telling us about Jacqueline, is who then put us up into at the elevator and got us up onto the tour and jumped us on the tour and then gave us the uh, barrel your own experience, and that was fantastic. Jacqueline, Jacqueline, is that better? It's Jacqueline. Would that be right? Anyways, Randy, if you watch me and you do, I am a butcher of language, and then you start throwing out French. That's even worse. Everybody out there, I'm gonna kick off on Facebook, but I'm gonna kick off. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of people on tonight again. The last couple YouTubes, I'm trying to get it back, but I think it's just that this time of year, it's a little bit slow. So I am going to stop on YouTube.